And begrudgingly, I have to say, the Packers lost today. But it was not without effort in the second half that they made the game as close as possible. Sure, it helps when the Minnesota Vikings give up plays left and right and have really bad turnovers. But Packers still lost. But there's still things to learn. There's still things to grow on. And you can still say there's things that the Packers did good. And there's just things to build upon. And next time when the Packers play Minnesota, they'll be sure to win there once again. Despite what some people think they're, especially Vikings fans, thinking that, oh, we won one game against the Packers in Green Bay. We're the best team ever. Oh my God, we're finally going to beat the Packers twice a year. Who cares? Scoreboard, 13 World Championships. How many do the Vikings have? Absolutely zero. And that's going to stay like that for a long time to come. Sam Darnold is not your savior. What we saw in Sam Darnold in the second half is a real Sam Darnold. And what we saw in the first half is just an aberration. We'll see more of second half Sam Darnold as more teams figure them out. I mean, Packers had some bad turn. I'm going to break it down. Packers, three things that the Packers happened to them that made them lose. Turnovers, or Jordan Love being really rusty, and just the kicking. The kicking was not good once again, but I don't see that kicking changing anytime soon. But let me know what you think down in the comments below, and let's go through each factor about why the Packers lost. Starting with, of course, the turnovers. Now, Love had 3 turnovers today, and they were all awful, especially that last one, throwing deep down the field to Wicks. As it made no sense why he threw that ball, even as he was arcing up, throwing it. As the ball left his hands, you could tell that it was going to be picked off. It had too much air. It was literally just going right to the Vikings defender, and he was just waiting, just waiting. Pick it off, and there goes another drive. Now again, the Packers were still able to make a comeback, but not only did Jordan Love just make some bad throws today, he's just not on target. Also, I'd like to point out that fumble by Tucker Kraft. That was perfect defensemanship for sure. That is exactly how you are taught to punch the ball. You just lean up, boom, right for the ball, knock it out, and he played it perfectly. Now, the Vikings were only able to get a field goal out of that, but it was enough. It was enough. The Packers made so many mistakes that just a field goal alone in the end was enough. Now, it didn't help that the Packers got down 28-0 in the first half, but they were able to score by the end, thankfully due to a special teams error where instead of just letting the ball go over the head into the end zone and the Vikings just get at the 30, he tipped it. Packers get the ball, but of course, like most rules in the NFL, you can't advance the ball. Why? I don't know. He clearly fumbled the ball. Any other play in the world, if you fumble the ball, the other team can take it back to the house and score. But no, it gets placed at the 3-yard line. And then we have that moment where the Packers scored a touchdown, but the ref said, even though the body was in the end zone, the ball was over the other side of the goal line. So it wasn't called a touchdown. Now, there was that 15-yard penalty on Matt LaFleur that easily could have been avoided, but the way he says it, he was trying to tell the refs to call timeout. The refs literally looked at him and went back to the action. It's like they completely ignored him. And then when the refs say, oh, you're too demonstrative about calling a timeout, well, what does that mean? Basically, that means you're got in my face and I don't like it, so I'm going to throw a penalty on you. Now, again, it probably wasn't the most professional thing to do for Matt LaFleur to go off like that, but when the refs say shit like that, it's just like, fuck you, refs. Fuck you, refs. The refs are fucking terrible. They screwed the Packers on a couple plays today. Bad penalties being thrown. I mean, the penalties on the Packers were just out of order. Now, yes, the Packers definitely caused a bunch of them, but every time the Packers got a close call, the refs were right on it to review it. Boom, to overturn it. Vikings, oh yeah, no, we'll just step in, give you a free replay. But I mean, I don't want to go on a big tirade about the refs because the refs weren't the main reason why the Packers lost. It's just one of those things at the end of the first half that easily could have been avoided if Matt LaFleur had not just lost school and the refs had just, paid attention to, I want a timeout. I want a timeout. Instead of just, oh, fuck you, we'll just keep looking at the action. But the Packers were able to score with a really nice throw to Jaden Reed, one of the best throws Jordan Love made all day. A really nice catch by Jaden Reed to boot. I mean, Jaden Reed has been the star for the Packers offense this year, and he's been the most reliable receiver. He's just consistent. He can run every play. He doesn't drop a lot of balls, although he did have that one really bad drop today, which wouldn't have gone very far anyway. But Jaden Reed has been great. He's been one of the really good, bright, shining stars for the Packers. Also, Xavier McKinney with that awesome interception in the third quarter that really helped make the Packers' chance of comeback a reality. And even though they didn't get to it, Packers were able to score off of it, and it kept the drive alive. Now, there may be some Vikings fans out there that say, oh, we just played conservatively in the second half. Oh, yeah, that's true. But again, Sam Darnold didn't play very well in the second half. Yes, he had a nice drive at the end to get that last field goal to really kind of put it out of the way for the Packers to win. But he got strip sacked by Keyshawn Nixon, and Enigbari picked it up. He threw a really bad interception as well. He had a couple of bad turnovers today that weren't due to conservative play. They were just bad throws. Let's be honest, when Sam Darnold makes bad plays, he needs to be called out for it. I know a lot of Vikings fans are like, oh, Sam Darnold is fixed. He's better. He's going to lead the Vikings to glory. He's not, though. He's played well and give him props, but let's be honest, the Sam Darnold we saw in the second half is the true Sam Darnold that we'll see probably most likely for the rest of the season. I'm sorry, Vikings fans. Sam Darnold is not going to be your savior and lead you to the Super Bowl. It's just not. You still have a lot to work on. Yes, your defense looks good. Brian Flores is a really good defensive coach, and he deserves credit. But conservative play aside, they should not have given up that many points. The Vikings should have won like 42-14, something like that. But it ended up being 31-29. Yeah, 31-29. And if not for the second thing that caused the Packers to lose, the Packers very would have won. Again, the kicking has been terrible. Braden narveson, it's not just the lack of distance that he has at times, but it's going left, wide right. He's just blatantly missing. And on the way back home, I was listening to you on the radio, and a guy pointed out that both kickers on each team were kicking side to side, and Will Reichard for Vikings was just nailing them down the middle Main Street, whereas Braden Narveson was going left, going right. He was missing at short distances, at long distances. He just doesn't look good. Now, he's still young, so they're not just gonna throw him on his ass, fire him, because let's be honest, there's just not a lot of good kicking talent out there right now. So they're going to keep giving him chances, but if the Packers keep losing because of missed kicks like this, I mean, people are going to get upset. I mean, it's like you can't keep losing games because your kicking is bad. I'm sorry. I mean, literally, the Packers lost by 2 points today, and if he just makes one field goal, the Packers win. And then the shoe's on the other foot, and the Vikings are complaining that, oh my God, we collapse again. But then again, that's a tribute to the Vikings of old. The Vikings game collapse is legendary. And yes, they've made some good comebacks in the recent past, but more times than not, the Vikings are going to be collapsing. Especially when it comes to later season, they collapse all the time. And I expect that to happen once again this year, because they still have to play the Lions twice. They still have to play the Bears twice. They're not going to go undefeated. They're just not. They're going to lose. They could very well lose next week against the Jets. But I don't want to talk about the Vikings more. I just want to point out that the Vikings made mistakes today, and they should be called out. And yes, they looked really good in the first half. Got up to a big lead, but they should not have lost. If their kick returner doesn't tip that ball, ball goes into the end zone. Packers probably don't have a chance to score in that half, and then it's 28-0, and it becomes really hard for the Packers to really make a meaningful comeback with no really good defensive way to really spur on the comeback. And I mentioned one other thing that kept the Packers from winning today, and that's just Jordan Love's rust. Now again, he looked pretty good for the most part, considering he just sprained his MCL 3 weeks ago. But what I noticed when he was playing was he was just airballing and underthrowing. There's so many times where he was underthrowing guys, just like right at the feet, whereas if he just gets it up a little bit, it's a catch. And, they go farther and they probably score more. And then the airmailing, like that one last interception that he just airmailed it completely towards the Vikings defender, overthrowing Dontavian Wicks, and Wicks just didn't have a chance to catch up. If he just maneuvers the ball like a little bit more towards the sideline, maybe Wicks is able to catch it, but since he threw it towards the end zone about a third of the way from the right sideline, they maybe score a touchdown. But just overall, he's going to get better. His knee's going to get better. It's going to keep healing. He's going to get sharper. I mean, it's hard to just expect him to just come off the pine and just start throwing along. But there are just many underthrows. There are many overthrows. There are just things that just need to be more crisp. But I believe in him. I've been very forthwith on this channel that I think Jordan Love can be a great Packers quarterback. Not best of all time kind of thing, but he can be one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and he can really help this team win a Super Bowl and go all the way. I really do believe that he just needs to be more efficient with his throws, and defense needs to clear some things up. I mean, they didn't start out very well, but Jeff Havley, for all the shit that he got probably in the beginning of the game, he definitely made some adjustments, and it certainly helped. It certainly helps when you have a field general like Xavier McKinney out there leading your defense, causing interceptions for the fourth straight game in a row to start his Packers career. I mean, he's been all over the place. They've been getting sacks. They've been causing fumbles. They've been causing interceptions. They have caused a lot of turnovers this year. I believe now the total now is 10, which, remember, last season the Packers had 7 turnovers all year. It's going to keep getting better, Packers fans. Don't be sad. I mean, yes, it sucks to lose the Vikings. It really does. I hate having to explain myself to the Vikings fans because, yes, you beat us, but we're still going to win the war. And when it all comes down to it, scoreboard, Packers still have 13 world championships. And how many do the Vikings have? They have a big old goose egg. That's not going to change anytime soon. I know I said that earlier, but it still rings true. The Vikings fans always get all excited. They get so excited. Oh my God, this is here. We're starting out 4-0. Oh my God, we're finally going to really dominate. We're finally really going to dominate. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to win it all. But how many times has that happened? Exactly 0. They've started 15-1 how many times? And just general 6-0, 5-0. How many times have they started out with that? And still ended up going like 7-8 down the way. Losing 7 down the way, 6 of 8, 5 of 9, and then they missed the playoffs. How many times has that happened, Vikings fans? A lot. I don't want to bring it up, but Vikings fans always seem to conveniently forget all the times they collapse. Packers have to admit that because the Vikings fan will never let the Packers fans forget it. But me, Packers fans, I'm going to remind Vikings fans every day, every time possible that Packers don't get overexcited. Just take everything as day as it comes. Be excited. But just keep that in the back of their mind that your team collapses all the time and that you could very well be close to another collapse just like you do every year. But let me know what you think. Don't be sad, Packers fans. Take this for a loss. We'll get better next week. We'll win next week. And we'll get back on track. And in the end, Packers still have a good enough team to win and make the playoffs. And even if everything goes perfectly, they can make the Super Bowl and God forbid, maybe even win it. But Now I'm probably thinking way out of my ass because if they come up against the Chiefs, the NFL will rig it so that the Chiefs win their third straight. But let me know what you think down below. Go Pack Go and have a great day.